Have you ever walked into an old building and just felt something? Like the air is heavier, like time hasn't fully moved on? Not haunted in the traditional sense, no ghostly figures, no flying furniture, but something lingers, something remembered. According to one theory, you're not imagining it. The building itself might be playing back history like a recording. This is the stone tape theory, and it might explain why some places feel haunted even when nothing's there. The term comes from a 1972 British sci-fi film called The Stone Tape, where a group of engineers discovers that stone walls have recorded a traumatic death and are now playing it back like magnetic tape. The idea sounds fictional, but here's where it gets weird. This theory existed long before the film. Parapsychologists in the early 20th century, people like Thomas Charles Lethbridge, were already speculating that buildings, especially stone ones, could absorb emotional energy. And they weren't alone. By the mid-1900s, researchers began using the phrase residual haunting to describe paranormal events that replayed identically over time, with no interaction, like an old film reel caught in a loop. To understand the stone tape theory, it helps to break hauntings into two types. Intelligent hauntings, where the entity seems aware, responsive, even conversational. Residual hauntings, where the same event happens again and again, like clockwork. Footsteps at the same time every night. A woman walking down the hall without ever looking at you. Crying heard in the basement, even when no one's there. These aren't ghosts, according to the theory. They're recordings. Emotional imprints burned into a location during a traumatic or emotionally intense moment.
If the stone tape theory is real, some of the world's most haunted locations make a lot more sense. Take the Tower of London, a fortress with over 1,000 years of history, executions, and imprisonment. Visitors frequently report seeing the same woman walking through the courtyard, or hearing screams near places where historical figures died. But these events don't respond. They don't acknowledge anyone, they just repeat. Same time, same place, same way. Or Gettysburg, in the United States. Tourists and park rangers alike have reported sounds of phantom gunfire, drums, and even marching, especially at dusk. Again, no visual ghosts, just replayed sound, echoing across the battlefield. In Edinburgh's South Bridge vaults, an underground series of chambers built from stone, reports often include shadows that appear and vanish, and sudden drops in temperature. Many believe the energy from centuries of suffering was trapped in the stone itself. These aren't ghost stories in the traditional sense. They're residual echoes burned into the walls.
So why stone? Why does this theory tie hauntings to castles, cathedrals, tunnels, and old homes, but not modern glass buildings? Some researchers believe it has to do with the mineral composition of materials like limestone, granite, or quartz. These materials are piezoelectric, meaning they can store and discharge energy when exposed to stress or pressure. Sound familiar? It's the same principle that allows quartz crystals to power watches or old tape recorders to magnetically store sound. So the question becomes, could traumatic events like a death, a battle, or intense fear leave behind an energetic imprint? And under the right conditions, could that imprint play back?
There's another layer to this. Some paranormal researchers suggest that Earth's natural magnetic fields might interact with these materials to activate the recording. Think of it like static electricity building up until something triggers it, like atmospheric pressure, a thunderstorm, or even someone just entering the space. That might explain why some people feel it and others don't. Maybe the playback isn't visible to everyone, or isn't always on. Skeptics say it's all psychological. Confirmation bias, environment-induced anxiety, or suggestion. But the theory keeps coming back for one reason. No one can fully explain why the same ghost stories happen again and again, with no change, in the same locations, often for generations.
The stone tape theory forces us to ask a strange question. What if memory isn't just in our minds? What if certain places remember things too? Think about it. Buildings outlast people. They stand through births, deaths, celebrations, and tragedies. And if materials can store energy the way crystals store data, maybe places carry emotional fingerprints we don't yet know how to read. It's not just a paranormal idea. Even some architects and environmental psychologists believe that space affects emotion, And that emotion, in turn, shapes space. There's a reason old prisons, battlefields, and hospitals feel different. We're not just walking through history, we're feeling it.
The stone tape theory might never be proven. There's no machine that can scan a wall and play back trauma, no meter that can measure memory in bricks. But maybe that's not the point. Maybe what makes this idea so haunting is that it makes us reflect on what we leave behind, not just physically, but emotionally. Our energy, our grief, our joy, etched not just into history books, but maybe into the very materials around us. So the next time you walk through an old building and the hairs on your neck stand up, maybe you're not alone, maybe you're hearing a memory.
If you love eerie history, strange science, and the mysteries we haven't solved, hit subscribe, because some walls never stop talking.